morning, good afternoon, good evening, traders. This is Abdurrahman from FXAlTareeq.com, and here is what's on my Burst coin radar. This July the 5th, 2016. Let's get started. All right, guys. On the chart is the Burst to Bitcoin chart, and as I mentioned last week, this particular candle that you see here was a rejection of the highs of 65, 67 on the chart. This is not a good sign. As you look over here on this particular candle, something similar happened as well back in April, was high as 100. These candles like this will show a rejection, and it takes a lot to come back into the market to recover from that. So what you see now is, if I were to highlight this, and I can't highlight it on this particular screen, but at any rate, from this point all the way across the board, we are still ranging now, and this is where Burst will be. As I mentioned before, also we needed to close above the 45 Satoshi's level, close, touch that line, and then push up for a confirmation. That did not happen, and hence what you have here is a drop in the Burst. Now, there was a lot of dumping and pumping in here, and there are a lot of shorts in the market for this particular coin, and we're going to have to overcome that. There's going to have to be a lot of buyers that come into the market to push this back up above the 45 level. Now, today's candle here, this little red candle, is today's candle, July the 5th. You have a gap that's here, and usually in trading Forex and other currencies, the gap is normally closed. The market does not like to have gaps. And so with that said, for example, over here, that's not a good example. The example over here is where you have a gap, where this one closed at the 55 level, and the next day it dropped down lower, but and then the next day it rolls back up. So expect a particular gap movement and closing of the gap within the next day or two. But that being said, we're still going to be ranging here, and this is the limits on where Burst is going to be at for quite some time, until we can get those, either get bulls back into the market or bears to get out of the market. And the bears are shorting Burst at 30. There's a lot of orders sitting down here back at 30. Obviously someone has either mined or bought a lot of Burst, and they brought down here in the 20s and what have you, and they're looking to take profit up at the 30 or higher level. So with that said, it is what it is. The charts show historical movements, and this is what is going on. Burst has been, as I mentioned before, ranging for quite some time. We're going to have to close above the 45 level, retouch there, and then push back off for a confirmation. We are still in a downward trend. Someone said that Burst was in an upward trend. As I mentioned before, we're not in an upward trend until we can close, have a higher high at the 80 mark, close above the 80, then we will be in an upward trend. Until then, we are still in a downward trend with Burst, and that is the case. This is what the chart shows us. No need to think about what Burst is going to do. This is what Burst is doing. This is price action. With that said, you guys have a magnificent day on purpose, and I'll talk with you soon.